So I made this tweet yesterday in the middle of my segment. It's not supposed. It's the reason that's controversial is because people aren't actually looking at the tweet and like actually like understanding what I'm saying, right? So you have this situation where the Act Man called out Quantum TV, justifiably so, and he pushed a little too far with these joking tweets. Okay, from YouTube's business perspective, they're gonna generally have a zero tolerance policy on stuff like this. It's the reason why Ethan got banned for a week, justifiably so, even though it's a joke. From my perspective, and I've lived something close to this, I made a joke as well, and I talked about this before. A while ago, when I was when I was at my job, I made a joke. I sent a friend of mine at work. We were work friends. A picture of a girl. I said, "Do you think she's cute?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's cute." Then I sent it again, but I showed her lower half exposed, and she had a wiggler. And he's like, "Oh man, you got me right." This is like 10 years ago or so. Like a couple months later, we had like there was an altercation that happened at work where he was like doing some dumb shit, and so he decided to show my job those texts from like a month ago, and they suspended me for a day. They're like, "Yeah, we have to suspend you because it's technically sexual harassment." It's like, okay, is it fair? No, it's stupid, right? It's stupid, but it's the reality. And so him putting this up, it makes his very good fight. It hurts it because he's getting so emotionally invested into it, which makes sense. I know this sounds weird. Now, even when I made my video, I was talking about it. You have to almost look at it from like a debate perspective. You have to try to like remove yourself and be like, okay, because like what you should be able to feel and do is different from what you can do to be able to try to reinforce your point. And the problem is the Actman justifiably is getting so frustrated that he's hurting his own narrative unintentionally. He's getting screwed by YouTube, screwed by Quantum TV. But the reality is like the world isn't going to like move over for you. So if you want to correctly advocate in a way that's going to be like more beneficial to you, try to like take a deep breath and do the hard thing and be like, okay, let me try to work within like what let me try to work in a way that's going to maximize my success as an individual and keep me going. Because what happened is Quantum TV didn't get anything against him. And so Actman got really frustrated and made these joking tweets about like, joking about how he's going to dox YouTube members. He wasn't ever going to do it. They're very clearly jokes, but I can see why YouTube has like the zero tolerance policy on it. Totally understandable. My advice is basically don't do this. Don't repost these tweets. This isn't helping your narrative. All this is doing is giving YouTube ammunition to be able to be like, see, he's keeping the drama going on. We're not going to reinstate his monetization. That's what I'm talking about. So I made a tweet saying some personal advice. You're too emotionally involved in the situation to the point where you might end up ending your career. You were right to call out Quantum TV, but you're at this point, you're in self-destruction. I'm not saying that he's wrong to do what he did. What I'm saying is that like the way that he's going about it is only going to hurt himself. That's it. That's all it is. And the problem is like people are looking at this on Twitter, and Keemstar doesn't like me. He's very frustrated with me about my take on Ethan. And so Keemstar is constantly tagging me and quote tweeting me and things all the time. He's obsessed with me. And so, like, of course, he's going to have a bad faith interpretation. And since Keemstar is like a large voice in the like commentary community on Twitter, like not the bigger commentary voices, but like on the smaller community, people are like, yeah, Keemstar must be right, but he's not. This is real world advice that comes from me, like being in a similar situation, not even like close to this, but like in a similar situation where I understand like the generalities where it's like, yeah, man, you need to keep fighting. Because if you can keep yourself from getting demonetized, if you can keep yourself on YouTube, you're going to have a better chance at fighting the long fight. YouTube made their decision not to do anything to Quantum TV. As of right now, it's probably they're not going to probably ever do anything, right? So yeah, man. So like all I'm saying is like, hey, do the long fight. Just go for the long fight. That's all I'm saying. And of course, Keemstar is he's not interested in like a conversation about any of this stuff. And I'm not talking I don't want to have a talk with him. He's very bad faithing the tweet. Because he's angry at me. And like that's all. And like I know I have like a spam full of Twitter messages. Keemstar's not somebody worth engaging with. So you keep telling me to check this video. Because the Act Man. Okay, you want me to check the conversation that Philip DeFranco has with Act Man? Okay.
Beautiful bastards, welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. I have a wild Thursday show for you, so buckle up, hit that like button, and let's just jump into it. And, the first thing that we're going to talk about today, and it should come as no surprise if you took even just a glimpse at the comment section yesterday, we need to talk about why creators small and large appear to be fucking.
Let's see.
Additional,
whether or not it's because the Act Man noticed YouTube. Right. Soon after that,
I already know like the general story, so I want to.
Explanation for beautiful bastards. I wanted you to kind of be the first person to hear it, and then we're going to go through your reaction and response to it. So, according to YouTube, we're talking about two separate situations here. It's not apparently connected.
Okay.
One, they said, yes, the video was removed for unwanted sexualization. They wouldn't confirm to me if this was it literally just in reference to that cucumber picture, which apparently has become a massive part of it. But they did confirm it was for unwanted sexualization. So
all right, so like, yeah, it might have been that. I remember talking about it. It's most likely it's like a bullshit excuse. But I theorize that there's other aspects there. One of those aspects being he showed a bunch of like messages, because this is the thing. YouTube will slap you with like sexualization for like random dumb shit. So one of the things to me is, or I theorized, is that like, Ackman showed Quantum TV's like screenshots of like the shitty things that he said. And it's possible that since YouTube doesn't give a shit about screenshots for whatever reason, that since they were getting more deeply involved in the situation, they're like, oh, these are really inappropriate, so we're going to pull down. I don't really know. I mean, we really just don't fucking know. To me, it's a bullshit excuse. But
it doesn't seem like that maybe there was nudity or anything like that, because it was like that's a YouTube system thing. But wow. So you have that. And then they said that the suspension of monetization is actually not connected to your videos. What they said is that it is connected to a tweet of yours that has since been deleted where you threaten to dox and harass the families of YouTube employees and creator families. And this might be a paraphrasing. It might be, we're trying to currently find apparently the tweet in question.
I could send it to you.
But I think the tweet, okay.
Yeah, he reposted it.
So is it accurate? I'm going to make a new series of videos, and I'll be doxing and harassing the families of YouTube employees and content creators. And I believe it was posted June 6th. They can confirm that they communicated the reason for your monetization being suspended. As far as the suspension, they referred to it as indefinite, so it could be 30 days or it could be forever. And now I give you the floor, because I literally got this 5 minutes ago.
Well, first off, I want to say thanks for having me on. It's great to meet you, and it's great to be on here. It is kind of what I've come to expect from YouTube. Now, I want to preface all of that by saying that tweet, saying like, I'm going to start this new series, doxing people, a lot of family fun involved. That was part of a satirical series of tweets where the first one was like a selfie, like feeling cute, might copyright strike some other content creators. Yeah. And then I had another one which was like, feeling something. I'm going to use my YouTube channel to promote hate speech because YouTube allows that now. So these were very clearly satirical tweets, and
this is the thing. It's like I agree with him. They're very clear satirical, but from a business perspective, I see why YouTube pulled those down specifically. This is what I'm saying. If he didn't push this far with these things, and I know why he made those points to show the hypocrisy of YouTube. The thing is that any business will take these threats very seriously. If you go to if you say like any business will take a threat like that very seriously, because they don't want to encourage a sphere of people constantly making those types of jokes. Right, so like if you, I'm gonna be serious, if you work at like a Walmart and if you joke about how you're gonna beat the shit out of somebody, they will suspend you and potentially fire you. Like it's a very zero tolerance policy on stuff like that, because they're not gonna take the chance of it. And so like that's the problem. That's where he went too far. And it didn't help his cause at all. And you want to know why we know that? Because he deleted the tweets anyway. So nobody looked at that and went like, "Yup, this is what's really making me want to go and support Ackman." Nobody fucking saw it. What's making people want to support Ackman is the research that he did, the incredible research, and trying to expose Quantum TV, or really not trying to. I mean, he did. YouTube just doesn't care, and that is a problem. But then you push too far, and that's where the emotional aspect comes in. Where I'm like, hey, try to disconnect yourself a little bit, because that's an emotional response, and it's completely justifiable. And I can't even say I wouldn't have a similar response if I was in that situation. But the thing is that like you shouldn't be encouraging him to go off the rails, because you're hurting his career by encouraging him to do that. The reality is like I want him to stay around so he can keep doing this in case Quantum fucks up again. But a lot of you guys are like very emotionally charged, like, yeah, do this. You can't use him as your martyr. This guy's career ending so that you feel a sense of satisfaction isn't a good thing, and it doesn't help him advocate in the future. But a lot of you guys are very emotionally invested in this in a way that's like very toxic. And I'm not saying don't get invested and don't advocate. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying like don't try to assassinate this guy's career and try to martyr him just so that you feel better. Like, he's still a person that needs to stay around to fight the long fight, and you guys are like fucking melting down. All right, and this is like a huge problem, and people don't offer people aren't offering pragmatic advice, and if you do, of course, you get like, you'd have like a huge fucking problem, and that's like the issue with like the Keemstar situation, right? And it's like a huge problem.
I pushed the boundaries on the third one. I'll fully admit that. But I did take the tweet down, and I don't think it was like a big deal. I don't think anybody thought that that was a legitimate threat. No, of course, because, you know, it's because my family was doxxed, and they were doxxed like over a month ago, and YouTube took no action against them.
And this is the thing with like the doxing. I don't know exactly what he's saying because I don't think that his family was actually doxxed. And I'm going to explain. Doxing is finding private information and then putting it on the internet, signal boosting it, and most of the time with malicious intent. We didn't see that. I honestly, I watched his whole video. He didn't show any doxing. What he showed was that Quantum has his information. Obviously, he called his mother. Completely inappropriate. Has the information, and he's like holding on to it and using these like weird plausible deniability threats, right? Like saying like, I have all your information. Like, that to me is like is kind of threatening, but it's not absolutely threatening. It's one of those things where you could play like plausible deniability, right? Telling people in his Discord, oh, I have all of his information. It was really easy to find. All I did was like look on Google or whatever he said. Like, you absolutely can like make a reasonable argument that he was saying that to get people to go and look up the information so that they would signal boost him so he's not connected. But you see how it's like, it wouldn't be technically considered doxing because he's being very manipulative about it. And like, this is something that I think is very intentional from the Quantum TV that we're not really talking about. Yeah, he said it was super easy to find online. This is what I'm talking about. Quantum TV is very manipulative, and nobody's really talking about the manipulation aspect of Quantum TV. Nobody's really talking about that. They're almost ignoring it. And this is why what he's doing is working. Right? That's all I'm saying. And it's like, look a little bit beyond it and be like, okay, identify like the manipulation tactics. Like, you know, these tactics of like calling his mother to be like, I want to talk to him so we could settle this privately. Meanwhile, if he wanted to get in contact with him, he could have gotten in contact with him through Discord. Like, these are things that should be really focused on, like how bad the character of Quantum TV is.
That and so I'm sitting here like angry and baffled and like filled with all these emotions, and I put out this tweet because I'm kind of just in like a fuck it kind of mood, and that wasn't responsible of me or right of me, and I want to right that wrong. You know, what's going on at YouTube is it looks bad for everyone, and there's so many great people that work at YouTube, and it sucks.
So your main thing is what you were doing. It was satire. You feel like, yeah, I understand where people could see me going a little bit too far, but I did want to confirm, did they communicate that was the reason? Just because I didn't find anything about that public prior to them issuing that statement.
I suppose if it's out now, then I can say yes, that was communicated to me. I didn't want to say anything about it because I was told that, and I wasn't sure if I should share the reason, again, because it's kind of like a sensitive topic. Right. We're talking about, you know, doxing people and families getting involved. So I chose not to relay that information to people. I don't know if you're going to, or if YouTube has released that information.
Going to what? Sorry.
Oh, like release the reason why the channel was demonetized.
Sure. Yeah. No. That's why I just want they confirmed it to me, and then I just kind of wanted to make sure, because it did seem like online the conversation seems to be specifically about you and this other creator and about like this other video in question. When it does feel like it's the same, but also two different situations, and so I was trying to get clarity there because. I don't know, I feel like we were talking about before, it feels like these narratives form sometimes inadvertently, sometimes on purpose. So just to be clear, so that we can kind of get past it, you did not publicly mention the reason you were suspended being related to the tweet because of why?
I didn't reveal that because at the time I wasn't sure what information I should be sharing. I've heard other things that I know I shouldn't share, and I didn't want to put my YouTube partner in the crosshairs. If something happened to his job because...
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it sounds like that YouTube partner told him information that he wasn't even supposed to tell him. That's kind of thank you so much for the sub.
Just resubscribed for 3 months.
That's a little rough.
Than 3.
If I'm reading this correctly, if that's the truth and he's given some of that information he maybe shouldn't have given out. I mean, I guess he didn't though. I guess YouTube did. He kind of pressured YouTube, but okay.
I leaked something that I wasn't supposed to, I'd be crushed because there are good people at YouTube and some of them are fighting for me, and I appreciate that. So I didn't reveal that information, not to mislead people, but because I didn't know if I should.
In your mind, because I know you said you wanted to kind of keep this tight, what would you love now that we have like confirmation that it's two separate situations of tweet and video? what is your ideal world of how things proceed from here? Because it does look like online things are really escalating. And so what I'm kind of hoping with this is like, we have what they're saying, we have what you're saying. How would you like to see it? If like this is your, instead of having to make a whole video on your channel, what would you say?
The biggest part is probably the doxing tweet, which even if you take that in isolation, like one tweet that's clearly satire and edgy, just leading to the entire channel being demonetized. If someone at YouTube really had such a massive problem with that, you know, I did delete the tweet, and I'd be willing to talk and have just like a short conversation about it, just to clear the air and be like, hey man, I'm not trying to attack you guys at all. I like moving forward, I think there's a lot of work to be done.
I think they know that. I think it's just like a hardline policy.
I know that YouTube, like, we don't want YouTube to be a place where witch hunting results in like people getting deleted that like this group of people just doesn't like. But when the evidence is there and when it's like shown to YouTube that all these guidelines have been violated, I think moving forward, like, and copyright abuse, nobody knows what constitutes copyright abuse on the platform. Because if you file a false claim, and you don't list the video you're claiming, they consider that a fair request, and that makes no sense to me. So we need clear understanding of what they believe copyright abuse constitutes, and you know, these community guidelines. And I just hope there's more common sense introduced to YouTube when they're dealing with situations like this. I hope my channel obviously gets remonetized, and I hope those videos that were age restricted come back as well. I hope Quantum is also rightfully terminated for, you know, being so terrible on the platform. And yeah, you know, I hope.
Yeah, I agree with all this.
I hope good stuff comes from this.
I think that the problem is that a lot of people, I'm looking at this like a little bit differently than a lot of other people. And that's because I used to be a manager at like my job for like years. So like maybe I'm too conditioned by that. But like I can understand the managerial aspect of this, and I understand how things can move very slow. Things can take a long time to get like the response that you may or may not want. That like, you know, there's a lot of inter-office politics that go on that you have to kind of deal with. Like, for instance, he was talking about his manager was trying to advocate for him on his behalf. It could be successful. This could hurt that advocation in some capacity. There's a lot of different things that like a lot of people don't understand, and they're difficult to explain to people when it comes to like office politics and like manager politics. And this is to an extent office politics once it goes from the YouTube manager person up to their chain of events. You know, it takes a lot. And a lot of times, and this is something that I imagine that the manager may have even told him, is like my managers have told me before when I'm in the right and they're advocating for me to their bosses, they're like, you know, you need to give me time. You need to give me time. I need time to deal with this situation. And sometimes it doesn't result in anything. And sometimes it actually results in like a positive thing. And that's where I'm looking at it more, is more of like a pragmatic perspective. And a lot of people are just like upset with that, honestly. It's very unfortunate. Oh.
I hope other content creators aren't like silenced or demonetized. I've heard, I believe the algorithm was recently changed to demonetize videos with my name in them.
I disagree. It hasn't. It's an objective falsehood. I'm not trying to be rude. I know that when these situations happen, people get super charged and invested. And there was literally one person who claimed that they got demonetized. Like, I didn't even curse, but I put your name in the title and I got demonetized. They censoring you. I just accidentally skipped back. I haven't had that. I haven't had that issue. No other content creator has had that issue. Do you see how like this is an instance of a situation where like now that YouTube is in the wrong, anything that happens is looked at as if YouTube is doing something intentionally wrong? We've kind of generated a conspiracy theory that they're targeting Actman, when the more logical like answer is that YouTube is shitty and lazy, and this guy, even though it was joking, he jokingly threatened to dox people at YouTube, and they take that threat very seriously. And sometimes a duck is a duck. Not everything is a deep-seated conspiracy. And I know a lot of people have like a really deep frustrations with YouTube and the way that they've been interacting for a long time, and I totally get it. But like, you're kind of like coming off of the course here. You're getting away from like the main course, you know?
Theo, what is your ideal world of how things proceed from here? Because it does.
I actually like skipped
about it just to clear the air and be like,
sorry, guys.
Well, I hope Quantum is also rightful.
I have to find them where you kind of say that it's like this corruption at YouTube. That's the last thing I'll say.
But, you know, it's just copyright abuse and false flagging. I can't verify any of that 100%. But, you know, it's just, I just want the platform to be healthier.
Sure. So kind of on that note, actually, the last thing I'll say, you still kind of stand by the tweets. I have to find them where you kind of say that it's like this corruption at YouTube that is causing it, because it does feel like there is a slight conflict in the narratives and the information that was known and being kind of said to the public.
I feel like someone or some group of people is making, I feel like YouTube has made the wrong decision at every point in this. If you call that corruption, I suppose that's an interpretation for it, but
it's a negative. I don't think that's the correct corruption. I don't think there's like deep-seated corruption here. I think it's like laziness. And I think, and this is also another lesson for you guys, nobody cares about you. Not him, us. YouTube doesn't give a shit about us, right? Your bosses don't give a shit about you. Some of them might like your direct bosses that get to know you, but like your bosses, they don't give a fuck about you. You're a unit, and that's the unfortunate reality. And a lot of times we're very right. Like, he's very right about what's going on here. But his boss doesn't give a shit. Like, his boss's boss. All it is to him is it's more annoyance for YouTube. And it's like, okay, let's move on from this situation, right? And it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal to them. And it's like, we shouldn't falsely prescribe corruption where it's laziness. Because this narrative doesn't help. And, you know, we're not targeting corruption at YouTube. We're targeting fucking laziness at YouTube. Like, that's what you're really targeting.
I believe YouTube has had 1,000 opportunities to do the right thing, and at every turn they've chosen to do the opposite.
So thank you to Ackman for his time to react to this, to share his thoughts. Also, I do want to know that after we were done with the main recording, he did want to say,
I don't want people to get all up in arms and like feel like they're at war with YouTube, because, you know, like I've been saying, YouTube is still a fantastic place that I love. We just want to get these issues figured out. And keep it about the issues and not try to villainize YouTube, even though I can't stop myself from doing that sometimes myself.
Which actually, kind of on this note, this story is still developing, because after
yeah, man, I totally understand that.
Interviewed him, YouTube did publicly respond to him on Twitter, saying that it was because of the tweet. Yeah, main thing, y'all asked for coverage. Here's your coverage. Now, with that, I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Because in general, you know, I always want this to be about y'all's opinion, but I will say one thing. It does feel like the tweet in question was very obviously a joke and satire. I know that YouTube can take safety and like anything kind of perceived as a threat very seriously, especially since, I mean, we even covered it on the show years ago when someone showed up with a weapon there. Seeing the tweet in question without just kind of like the rough read, you see the full context, it's hard not to see that as anything but a joke. So of course, whether you agree or disagree with me with that note,
it is a joke. It's objectively a joke. Like, there's no argument against it being a joke. No argument against being a joke. The problem is, again, from a business perspective, like, it's not appropriate to jokingly threaten anything. In any business, if you jokingly threaten anything, they're going to take action against it. And that's why that hurts him. That's why I say remove yourself emotionally as much as you can, so that you don't end up doing something where it goes too far and you fuck yourself over. Which we have saw. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. And they did it to Ethan Klein. I know his joke was worse, I would say. But like, they did it to Ethan Klein. There's a conversation to have about how he got a weak ban, which I think is fair, but Quantum gets demonetized. Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, why not Quantum? You know, I don't know why. Maybe it's because Quantum literally had no other strikes. They had no other strikes, so they gave him a fucking demon. It's just ridiculous. That part is it's an insane, disproportionate response. I just want to talk about it because I think people I don't think people are approaching what I'm saying in the correct way. Or at the very least, like, you can disagree with me, but like, hear what the fuck I'm talking about. You know? I will say one thing. I think I'm done with Twitter, I'll tell you that. You know, not a good platform. Very easy to misconstrue what different people are saying. So, you know, it's always worked out better for me when I've been able to sit down and like explain, like, hey, here's where I'm coming from, even if you disagree. So there's that. There is that. Still getting like fucking spam notifications on my Twitter. That's crazy. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.